Okay, hi everyone. I'm going to start. I'll um, just wanted to take the most out of this webinar. That's why I'm just starting right away. I would like to see people joining, but welcome to another webinar. We are super excited to have you here. Today is a very special webinar. We are having a special guest, it's Erica Morris. So the topic is how to scale your business, and she's going to talk about her experience using Inventora. But first, I'm going to just give some reminders. This is a 40-minute webinar. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the chat box. And we're going to have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. And also the webinar will be recorded for you to watch at any time you like. So today is going to be a little bit different. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen because it is going to be like a interview format. So Erica, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to give you just a little bit background of who Erica is. She's the founder of Memory Box Candle Co. And she has been having this candle business for over 3+ years. And I don't know, Erica, I prefer for you to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about you, and then we can start with the questions.
There we go.
Welcome.
Hi, sorry, I was like not as familiar with this. I'm like, wait, how do I get myself to pop up? Hi.
Hi. So thank you so much for accepting this invitation. I just wanted to let you guys know that Erica has been with Inventora since, like, I think forever.
It was like in beta, I think, when I
Yeah.
first started using it.
So it is really excited to have you and just to share your experience using Inventora, but please introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Erica Morris. I have a candle business called Memory Box Candle Co. I have a YouTube channel of the same name where I've been just sharing the whole process of starting a candle business from start to finish. And I have been using Inventora since pretty much like the start of Inventora when it was going through like the beta and before like it's had all these features and everything added.
I love that. So I think you have been with Inventora more than me. So you have a lot of experience with it. So first of all, I just wanted to ask you, why is it important to have an inventory system for a handmade business?
So, okay, I feel like I've been preaching inventory systems so forever, and even before I had my candle business. So I was doing eBay for the longest time. And I even had like my own kind of inventory software for that, because anytime you have materials and products and any kind of inventory based business, having an inventory software, I think is like mandatory. I know it's not mandatory, but I think it's kind of mandatory just because when you're wanting to grow and you're wanting to scale your business, if you don't have an understanding of the products that you have on hand, of what you have on your website, making sure everything's correct, then there's a lot of mistakes that can happen. There's over purchasing that can happen, purchasing things that you don't need, purchasing things that maybe isn't selling like very consistently, but you're just on a routine of, okay, well, I think I need that. I think I need that. So I always preach it. I think it's like imperative for any kind of inventory based business. So you're not getting overwhelmed and kind of lost with how much stuff you have around you.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I know that inventory is not like our favorite task as a handmade business.
Yeah, it's not the most fun task. But it's easier when you're not like trying to just figure it out with like a pen and paper constantly, like inventory, especially with like the audits and everything, just being able to have that time saver of having everything already listed out of all of your products is like already a time saver versus what I used to do like in the very, very beginning. I don't even know if I remember doing inventory before then, but it was just listing what I have and then just going through manually and just trying to do that at that point.
So that comes with my next question is that how did you track your inventory before Inventora, and what are the most relevant changes you saw after making that transition?
Yeah, so again, I think it was, gosh, I want to say I was in business for only maybe like 6 to 8 months or something before Diana had reached out to me about Inventora and trying it out. Um, and at the time, I don't know if I had anything in place. And to be honest, when I was thinking about inventory, I was thinking about just my finished products. Like
Mm.
I was like, well, I don't have that, I don't have that much stuff on my website. I have like 15 candles up at any time. I see it on the shelf. Like I don't have to do inventory, but there's so much more that goes into it. Like thinking about the materials and the individual materials and the cost of the materials, and it all kind of goes into play. So being able to have the information about what each material costs, because as soon as you put in a supply order and how many you got, how much money you spent on it, it's able to calculate automatically the cost per piece of that specific material. And being able to have that and visually see that helped a lot. And it also helps too with like the cost of goods, just overall of knowing and really kind of being super hands-on with your business and having as much information as possible. As much as inventory is not necessarily, again, the most spectacular, like people don't start businesses to like check inventory, all the time, but it's extremely important to kind of keep right on track, make sure that everything is going well. And I think that that really was a huge change of just being way more knowledgeable about what you have on hand and then how you're going to utilize that for your business in terms of all the information that it has.
Yeah, I think once you start using it, you see like, wow, what I was doing, right?
Mhm.
So for you, at what stage of the business is the best time to invest in an inventory software?
Um, I mean, I think as early as possible. And I say that because when you're first getting started with your business, the more so the better steps that you take in the beginning to make good habits, form good habits for your business, it's going to be easier to keep up with that. So instead of not worrying about it and then growing your business and then getting it later on down the line and then trying to put everything on there and then get used to the process of your kind of system, the way you do things, and then putting it into habits and your kind of daily or weekly tasks, getting it started initially is not only going to help you in the beginning of just kind of understanding more about your business, but it's also going to help you just kind of form good habits as you're getting started with your business. And it's just going to make things so much easier as you go along. And again, there have been many times where in the beginning, I think some of the things that I do remember from the beginning was if I wasn't on top of my inventory, there were a lot of mistakes that could be made. So you have things that are listed on your website that aren't actually available, or something gets sold and then you don't mark it down, or things can kind of get like a little, you know, not great. So I think that getting started in the beginning, whether it's shortly after you launch or even a couple months after you launch, once you kind of get the hang of, all the other stuff that comes with business, like website and Instagram and everything else that comes into it, being able to get started with that and kind of form good habits from the beginning, I think is really important for anybody getting started with a business.
Yes, and I think that once you have it, since you had, for example, when you start, probably you're going to have just 5 products. So if you start just playing around with an inventory software, just with those 5 products, the process is going to be super easy for you to
It's
keep.
going to be so much easier. And then once you have 20, 30, 40 plus products, then it's going to be like you're going to understand the routine. It's also less intimidating and confusing when you just have very small amount of products, small amount of materials. You can get used to the program and you can get used to how things are done versus having so much stuff. And then it's overwhelming and then you might not want to do it because it just seems so daunting of a task to get everything set up. So the sooner you get started with the least amount of product, definitely the better.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. So now let's dive into the process so what is the best process for using the Inventora features for you?
Yeah, so I think that definitely the most important thing when it comes to kind of making sure that everything's run correctly with Inventora, and something that I found out just from the very beginning, is you just want to make sure that anytime you're wanting to add on products, you have to make sure the materials are there first. So like step one is definitely going in for the materials, making sure all of those are put in there. And then when you add on the products, it'll basically automatically pull from your materials once put how many is in each product. We like to categorize things into different categories. And then in terms of like our process of how we go about doing things, it's just, I think we do like weekly audits. I like doing audits a lot. My husband, Chris, I taught him Inventora a couple months ago. So, so he does a lot of that now too. So randomly I'll be like, can you just run an audit? Like especially if we're going to be doing like a sale or something. I'm like, can you run an audit, make sure that everything is correct on the website? Because that's the main thing, is just making sure that the products that we have, it's the correct amount of materials, the correct materials that are being pulled when a product is created. And then also just making sure that everything is accurately reflected onto the website so that nothing is being sold that actually isn't there. So being able to go through and do that. And then also, anytime we have wholesale orders or orders that we need to make for like vendor events or something, we do a lot of production runs, just making sure that all of the materials and everything is going to be that we have enough. And also Chris is able to go through, and he'll tell me this all the time. He'll go through and anything that's highlighted red, he's like, okay, so we need this, we need this, we need this. And he'll just make a list for me. And then I just go and order it. And it makes it so easy, instead of like, this is, I don't know if you can see. So this is all like the candle room and everything. And when you have so much stuff, it's so difficult to just look at what you have and know exactly what you need to get. And I think that that's like probably one of the best benefits of having a software like Inventora, is that there's so many different features on it that just kind of will let you know what you need, what's selling well, what you need to order, and all that kind of stuff. So there's so much that we use with that, just kind of like on a daily and weekly basis.
I love that. So with that being said, what are your top 3 features of Inventora, and how do you, for you, right? And how do you use them to optimize your business operations?
So I think one of my favorite things, and I think it's just because it's such a time saver, is the direct connection to Shopify. So the fact that it's integrated, and anytime a product sells, it's pulling from inventory. Anytime we update the inventory, it's adding on to Shopify. And that was something that I think in the very beginning, I was like nervous about, because I'm like, I want to make sure that it's not going to take up more time. And I think that that can be kind of something that a lot of people, when they're maybe a little hesitant about getting a software or something, because when you hear software, you think like, okay, it's going to be so intimidating. There's going to be a huge learning curve. It's going to take up so much time. But I think with Inventora, and something that I really, really liked from the very beginning, it's extremely straightforward. It's very user friendly. It's not intimidating once you kind of understand just the very basics of it. And having that be something to where it's not going to take extra time. So it's not going to be causing so much extra time, and your business is actually saving time with that integration with Shopify. And then also the production runs. I know I had mentioned that earlier, but with that feature, I think as soon as that feature came out, I'm like, this is amazing. This is exactly what I need, because the amount of times that I have been wanting to create an order, and then you go to make the order and you're pulling the fragrance oil and you're like, so I only have enough for 10 candles, not 15 candles. And then you're trying to rearrange how many you're supposed to be making. and it really helps to put in exactly what you need. And if there are any, low materials or not enough for that order, it lets you know, and you're able to know ahead of time. We also use this for wholesale orders too. So depending on how quickly we're able to make a wholesale order, if we create a production run, we can see what we have in stock and what we have available to create that wholesale order. And that has just been, I think, a time saver as well, and not just trying to guess or not looking on what you have and then trying to do the math and figure out exactly how much, which is what I used to do in the past. I used to do that all the time. And then I think the last feature that that I want to mention is the reports feature. So the reports feature, that is something that has helped a lot. It gives you a lot of really good information in that area. And one of the main things that helps with that is actually the overall inventory value. I've mentioned this a lot on my channel because, of course, being a business owner and then learning so much from my CPA and my business attorney and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, there's so much that I didn't know. And especially with taxes, there's a lot that I didn't know with taxes. And with an inventory-based business, it works a little bit different in terms of what you can write off. So being able to have that dollar figure inventory value and not have to go through and calculate, which is what I had to do my first, like it was, well, when was it? I'm trying to remember. I think it was for my eBay business, or I don't know, for something. There was one year that I had no idea I had to keep track of that. And my accountant told me that. And I was like, oh, dang. So then I had to go back and try to figure that all out. And having at the end of the year when I'm doing my inventory or my taxes, being able to go there, get that number and have that readily available, I think is like huge. I love that so much. I know that's kind of like an underrated feature and everything, but it's super helpful for me.
Yeah, I think, well, I also own a handmade business, a handmade business. So I don't know, but I don't know if many makers have the same thing, but I'm not good with numbers.
Yeah.
And I hate to do calculations and do math and all of those things. So Inventora definitely can help you with a lot of those things, right?
Yes, absolutely. And then also with like the cost of goods feature as well, being able to have that automatically show up. Like that's usually something that people like. I know there's apps and stuff like that. I used to go through by hand with math and everything and figure out exactly the cost of goods per product that I was making. But the thing about that I really like about that feature of Inventora is the fact that like for instance, all fragrance oils cost a different amount.
Mhm.
So that even if it's slight by like 20 cents or something an ounce, you're still able to kind of see that slight change of cost of goods between two different products that are the same size, but if they're using different fragrance oils, it's really interesting to see which ones cost you the most, which ones cost you a little less, even if it's just a little bit of a difference. I think it's really, really important for everybody to know like their cost of goods, even if it's just like a range of like 25 cents or 50 cents or whatever it is, just so you know. And then that also helps with pricing as well. But I just love that feature on there.
Yes, it's super useful. So, for you, what are the best tips and tricks that you have used with Inventora?
So I think what can be really helpful with Inventora and something that I did from the very beginning. Chris has gone through and categorized other things too, but just the categorization of everything. So especially if you have different kinds of handmade products that you're working with. So let's say you're doing candles, but you also have body sprays, and let's say you also do lotions. And it's kind of all, if you mesh all of those materials all into one, it can kind of be, a lot in one section. But if you do different categories for everything, it really helps to be able to see and click on things that you're looking for. Like I'm just looking for candle supplies, or I'm just looking for wax melt supplies, or whatever it is. And then you're able to quickly go on there and be able to, see what you're looking for in the moment. And then another thing that I really like, and that's really helpful is and I think I did mention this earlier, but is the feature where you can put the minimum that you want to have, either stock levels of materials or stock levels of products. And you can put the minimum, and then that way, when you're looking through, it'll light up red. And red just kind of, I feel like, gets our attention when we're looking at things. So it kind of gives you the red flag, basically, that you need to order more of that. So I think that being able to do those two things, it really helps to speed things up and also give you kind of more of an idea of what's needed, and to help a little bit more with organization of it as well.
Yeah, and I think those features also help you see that your business is ready to take the next steps, right?
Yeah, exactly. Also with the reports feature too, you can really see what products are selling well, what products are selling quickly, what products are selling slower. And then that also helped me with being able to just, get a good overview of what products are doing well and what products aren't doing well with the business.
Yeah, that's super helpful. So, was Inventora a key resource for the growth of your business?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that I would be as organized. I think that it would, I feel like, I mean, I already feel like I'm, kind of all over the place a lot of the time with business. There's so much that goes into it. And being able to not have to worry about this part has been so extremely helpful. It's allowed me to be able to kind of have more of that, not really hands-off approach, but not have to do so much, keeping track of every little thing, because it's just inputting it into the system. A lot of things are automatic. And it's really helpful in that way. And it's also helped me be able to see visually products that are, like I was mentioning, products that are selling slower. Okay, what's actually not doing as well? And being able to audit yourself in your business and be able to see, I went through a couple months ago, I went through and took down, discontinued a few of my products, some of my scents, some of my products, because they weren't doing very well. And you can see on Inventora that things have been there for so long, and the slower moving products, and it really just helps to be able to get a good visual of your business, and be able to take that information and then implement it in different ways into your business to help you grow and help you scale more, and really focus on the products, the scents, and everything that's doing really well. So you can order more, make more of those ones, and just kind of grow more in that way, instead of spending too much money and too much time on things that aren't actually making you money.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So, I think I just have a last question. So,
Mhm.
what advice would you give to someone who is just starting out in the handmade business industry?
Okay, so my top three things, if I had to narrow down to like three, I know, like, did you say multiple things? Oh, just advice in general. So my advice would be to research as much as possible. So that's what I did in the very beginning. If you're just wanting to start any kind of business at all, I think the research part is extremely important, depending on where you live, depending on what you're able to keep in your house, depending on how much space you have. Like there are so many things that go into it, that's just a little bit more beyond, oh, this is really fun and something that I want to do. Because that's definitely the first thing that we always think of, is just how fun it can possibly be. And also make sure you are focusing on cost of goods and profit, because as much as it is really, really fun, like it's a lot of fun, there are so many creative things that we're able to do with a handmade business. But the most kind of like the highlighted portion of the phrase handmade business is business. So you do have to treat it like a business. And if you aren't focusing on your cost of goods, trying to get those as low as possible, and then focusing on how much profit you can actually make in your business, then it's not going to do as well as you would hoped that it would. And that can be really discouraging. So I think that taking time, making sure you are researching, making sure you are focusing on your cost of goods, getting them as low as possible, and then making sure that you know your profit margin, how much money you're going to be making on everything. I think those are the good foundation parts to start. And of course, there's so much more that builds on top of that. But with the foundation of the business, I think that that's probably one of the most important things to focus on in the beginning.
Yes, for sure. Okay, so I think I'm just going to leave the space for everyone. If you want to ask something to Erica, leave the questions on the chat box and I'm going to read them. So please feel free to write down anything that you come up with. We are very open and trying to help you guys as well.
So I see Catherine had wrote that it's going to be recorded. Is this going to be posted on Inventora's YouTube channel?
Yes, it will be like open to everyone if they want to watch it after we end up this one.
Very cool.
Okay. I don't know if anyone has a question.
I know we covered a lot.
Yes, we do. So, well, I think we don't have any questions. So we can end the webinar here. Erica, thank you. Thank you so much for telling your experience with Inventora. I know that it's not the same because I'm the one like teaching the system, but it's not the same. And it is so much better to have the experience of a maker telling everything of what you have done with the system. And because makers can relate to that, right? So yeah. Thank you so much for your time. And as well, everyone else, thank you for joining. And we'll be sending the link of this session as soon as we end it. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Thank you. And love the system. Love, obviously I love Inventora, but I really hope that this helped people who were kind of, had questions or were interested more on, my take on everything. But thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. And have a good rest of your day, everyone. Bye.
Bye.